Wild Geese sells itself. A bunch of over-the-hill British mercenaries go to Africa to extract the political good guy and get double-crossed by their employers. What you need, listener, is a dossier on those involved. First, Richard Burton, 53, who is married to Elizabeth Taylor. He was a well-respected theater and screen actor who famously played King Arthur. He was also a notorious drunk. Next, Richard Harris, 48. He was a well-respected theater and screen actor who famously played King Arthur. He was also a notorious drunk. Roger Moore, 50, was famous for playing a character called James Bond. Here he's supposed to be playing an aged mercenary, but the following year he'd make Moonraker. That's the one where Bond goes to space. The final commanding officer, Artie Kruger, was a proclaimed anti-fascist in adulthood, but was also a Hitler Youth. He has a lot of roles playing Nazis, as you do. Here he plays a South African with a history of fighting terrorists. And for whatever reason, this movie was the dream project of Ewan Lloyd, who had read an unreleased novel called, get this, The Thin White Line, and decided to sell his car and his wife's fur coat to finance the movie. Finance a rollicking adventure like this and you'll get your money back. A boy's own film, where famous men put on uniforms and get out and play hero. The movie did, barely. The American distributor of this one collapsed at release. IMDb says this movie was a success in Japan. Pretty impressive for a movie I can't find any information about in Japanese. We do know at least one Japanese man who saw this movie about 500 times. We'll get to that. Now, the director was a third or fourth choice, Andrew McLaughlin. He's known for putting John Wayne in center frame and getting out of the way. A journeyman hired to do the job, which he did. When casting the 50 mercenaries who all get shot, they found actual mercenaries. Don't ask what they did. Who then became advisors to make this film real, so you can immediately identify anything that sticks out as realism. The African country in this movie may be fictional, thankfully, but it was made in apartheid South Africa. Glad they made the German actor Africans, just to put a button on that. There were protests, and a lot of actors turned down roles for this film for that fact. Not these four. They even made the opening a charity event to distract from all this. That's the film. You know, I had a speech prepared for you. As we review 1978's The Wild Geese.
Roll the extremely UNICEF-ass credits.
Totally scarring war movies.
We can think about it later.
Let's
This is
think about
Hinge
it later.
Problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome
to Hinge Problem.
Oh no. Oh, we're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Abba-dabba-dabba-dabba-dabba. Welcome to Hinge Problems. I'm Rudy.
It's spooky. Yeah. Yeah, perfect timing.
Nice. Nailed it, Shrug. Good job.
If only we had this timing for jokes. Welcome to Hinge Problems. I'm Rudy.
I'm Chris.
It's me, Shrug.
And it's me, Tigress.
A great submarine film, everyone. Great submarines. I loved all the submarines in this one.
Lots
I'm
of subs.
I'm glad that we're just doing submarine movies now.
Yeah, we really should.
Yeah.
This isn't war movies anymore. It's sub movies. We've further specialized.
That's something I do on a different part of the internet.
Oh,
Had
no.
no idea
Whoa!
that the South African military police had a submarine unit.
But now you know.
Now I
you
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we should just add it as an extra column to the name. So it's Hinge Problems, War Movies, Sub Movies.
This is a real $5 footlong of an opening, if you ask me.
Hey.
Have we watched a more James Bond film before?
Oh, come on. I mean, yes. No, we have
No,
not watched
no.
a more James Bond ass movie before than this.
I appreciated Tigers. Oh, come on.
Roger Moore even has his "Nobody needs to see my turkey waddle as a sexy super spy" turtleneck on.
Yeah, rocking that turtleneck.
Yeah.
You can tell it's James Bond because it's got Roger Moore in it. It's got a sappy opening song that tonally clashes with the rest of the movie.
No more than the soundtrack. No
I
more
was
than
gonna
the
say,
orchestra
like,
soundtrack going boom ba-dum ba-dum boom 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 boom.
we're on a jaunt with the boys in the
Like-
bush. Let's go do things, yay!
My friends
Ro-
are dying and it's very sad. Ba-dum ba-dum ba-bum ba-bum.
Boom, boom, boom.
Just
Roger-
like a James Bond movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger Moore commits. Roger Moore commits crimes both
I almost
domestic
killed my
and
coffee.
Roger Moore commits crimes both domestic and against the Geneva Convention. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
James Bond. Yeah,
You just get multiple other bonds going along with it. You get a whole
You get Roger. You also get Roger Moore clearly like, I want a bigger part in this role. I want my part to be bigger. So just cut to me for the second half of the movie where I never say anything.
Allegedly, that he didn't say he had a lot of his dialogue cut because he didn't want to have to act versus the two Richards. He was intimidated by them, which is fair. They're much better actors than him.
yeah.
Even when they're clearly going through alcohol withdrawal, like all this cast is. All this cast is stone sober and in the South African plains and just so sweaty,
super frustrated at that fact.
internally sweating out.
they really went the extra mile to bring aging British dads the ultimate aging British dad fantasy.
Hey, what if you, aging British dad, could just, solve Africa? You can do it. You're in your 50s. You can handle this. It's great.
A big worry for everyone. What do we do about Africa?
You can still use racial slurs, but become woke.
Well, look, you have to use properly localized racial slurs. You can't use the ones you already use. You have to use the region-specific ones, and then it's okay.
Yeah, as the movie elaborates on to an uncomfortable degree.
Until it's not okay.
Until it's not
but
cool.
But then you can still, if you're dying, you can use it affectionately.
Oh, okay. So you're saying, like, if it's a Make-A-Wish the Foundation, you'd let the kids say the
yes,
say the N-word. Yep.
The South African mercenary gets to say the local equivalent of the N-word on his deathbed.
Yeah,
that is what the Wild Geese teaches us.
Yeah. John Cena's gonna come to your hospital room, kid, and let you say that word. It's okay.
Yeah. We thought this was gonna be a fun romp movie.
No,
it tries to be.
It thinks it is, but it's not.
I mean, it is for a specific audience. Like, you have to be a very specific audience. Like, I wanted, like, since we've already like ran headfirst into the racism, I was like trying to piece together, because like it has like the liberal argument that, look, you can talk someone out of racism.
Yes,
you can talk someone out of being so. For y'all's perspective, is it, and again 1970s, is this a liberal or a conservative film? Because it goes both ways, right?
I mean, it's a 50-year-old British dad film.
Well, it's neoliberal.
Yeah,
is what it is. Like the specific, like this is a movie that thinks that it is ostensibly for like personal liberty, but it also is a lot about like essentially if you're rich you can do what you want. It's very paternalistic to developing nations. It very much thinks that there is a global social order that sort of white people have to sort out for everybody else.
It's based on a book called The Thin White Line.
There we go. Yeah.
Not a great name.
Yeah, it's
well, it's a great name for a book about cocaine, but it's not really a good name for this.
Yeah,
I mean, that tells you the politics of the book, but I feel like the politics of the book and the politics of the filmmakers and the politics of whatever the actors wanted to do on screen is like ramming headfirst into each other.
The central way it plays out is you have, just to get it out explicitly, is you have this fellow who is the former president of a fictional nation in the book apparently was the Congo, and honestly, this is a time when I'm pretty happy they changed it.
Yes. Yes.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Like, honestly,
yeah,
whoever made the movie, good call just using a fictional country there, because, whoa.
yeah, and everyone thinks he's dead. He's not actually dead. The person that deposed him has him prisoner, and our mercenary band is hired to rescue him for a mineral concern. You have
Copper.
stakes in the country, copper specifically.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I like, see, that was the thing I liked in the setup, is how, and even in the obvious double crossing that happens, is like, yeah, that the guy who hires them is just awful. Just an
yeah.
awful person. And the
And
movie did not
then-
like flinch from that, which was nice.
And then one of the officers is a South African who used to fight terrorists and is currently sort of drifting in London, doesn't have a penny to his name, and he's hired on to be one of the officers. And after they rescue the guy, he has health problems. He's not mobile. He can't run. So he ends up, the South African guy ends up literally giving him a piggyback ride while they have racial discourse. So you have a white South African and somebody that is, about Black African self-determination having this dialogue during gunfights.
Well, and complicating it even more is the guy who plays the South African grew up in Nazi Germany, was a member of the Nazi youth, and then became like a hugely avowed anti-fascist guy after all of that. So there's just all sorts of weird, like, layers there.
And in the book, his character was a fucking Rhodesian.
Oh, God.
Oh, fuck.
Again,
the one thing that's worse than being a white South African.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're gonna,
Hi, I'm completely ignorant of African politics.
I looked into Rhodesia because of this movie.
Okay, can you explain your oh gods?
Shrug, yeah.
Rhodesia in the mid 20th century, Rhodesia separated to become from the mother country, from England, explicitly to become a white supremacist racial state, because England was saying you have to give your majority black population the vote. It is extremely popular with like 4chan Nazis and stuff, because A, they love their particular aesthetic, and 2, it was explicitly a racist apartheid state. It was founded to be a racist apartheid state. It was always a racist apartheid state. It's complicated, but Rhodesia bad is
yeah.
Yeah,
if you hear Rhodesia,
down to
you hear Rhodesia in a conversation, you probably want to exit the conversation, unless that person's telling you how horrible Rhodesia was. But
the Rhodesian Bush Wars did produce a lot of mercenaries that wound up knocking around the continent for decades after.
Yeah. Looking into like doing some cocktail napkin math on what wars these guys would have fought in does not give good results.
No.
What conflicts would these men have been involved in? And it's almost entirely it's either parts of the empire trying to leave the British Empire, or the Troubles, or independent actions in Vietnam. Pick your pick. Either way, it's all either racism or war for war's sake, which that's what the film leans into both.
The best thing about the whole best, of course, obviously, is that President Limbani tells the Afrikaner dude, "Hey, I got to meet your what's his face, Jan Smuts, former 2-time what was he, the Prime Minister of South Africa? He was a great man." It's like, holy fucking shit, really?
Yeah.
I did one Google search of that guy, and it was like,
Yeah.
that guy turns
You
out to
thought-
have committed massive human rights violations, was a
And-
white supremacist.
And yeah, he very publicly, very actively thought of black people as children, period, and was against self-determination and it just seems weird, like this movie is giving this line to a South African actor.
Well, one of the problems of sort of the way this movie approaches racism is because it's a movie for 50-year-old British dads. It doesn't want to tell them to feel bad about being racist, so it can't. So
You go through the refining fire of a volunteer military action with the best man in Africa, and that will, through osmosis and through sharing the trial with him, you'll become not racist.
yeah,
And you still get to say the local equivalent of the N-word one more time when you die.
Yeah.
yeah. You earn your not racist badge, and then it's fine. Doesn't matter what you did.
I really just kept thinking about the Flight of the Conchords bit, I'll be the racist dragon, every time they were talking on screen together.
I'll be the racist dragon.
Because it was exactly the same fucking thing. Just this utter shallow discussion about about war and colonialism and racism.
Yeah.
Entirely to make aging white British dads feel good about themselves.
Look,
Okay,
don't you know both sides need each other?
Okay, but what if we held hands and sang Kumbaya? Oh, wait, I never thought about it like that. Shit, I'm gonna shoot my machine gun twice as hard for you now.
Yeah.
It was all about the money, but now it was not just about the money.
But I almost feel like for British dads, like that's kind of the framing you have to put it in. I mean, it is very congratulatory towards, and I'm digging my own hole here. Obviously, it's racist. That's the end of it. I'm just trying to, but like reaching across the aisles or what have you to just like make them think about this a little bit. Like, I don't think none of the positive reviews walk out of this film thinking about that part. They just think about jolly. Oh, what a good that was certainly a good sport. I don't know why I'm giving it upper class. This is supposed to be appealing to lower class British people. I'm gonna go shoot myself in the foot now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm fine painting people who voted for Margaret Thatcher in a bad light, even though that's going to get me canceled for saying that.
Yes, obviously. So here's something here. I'll shift the topic a little bit. So President Julius Nyambani, remember when he was the same guy?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey,
Remember
you
when
know
he was also a doctor in a prison in a fictional African country and a displaced leader? Remember when he was the same guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Christopher Walken rescued him. Yeah, I remember
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah. To make the middle-aged, creepy post-Vietnam American dads feel good about this. I don't know.
I feel like Dogs of War is more of an individual character study.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't engage as directly with the politics and is a better movie for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like it's covered the same ground, and also I appreciate the synchronicity of the last line, the last memorable line of Dogs of War, and the first memorable line of this film. You're late, being the same.
Hmm.
I also liked how the ending of this movie was the start of Dogs of War.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. It's extremely yeah. There were just too many bizarre parallels between these two movies for me, and which all fell on the side of Dogs of War because it's a much better movie.
I only read this Wikipedia summary of the book, but the movie of the book of the Thin White Line, well, published as the Wild Geese, but it seems like this the movie follows it pretty closely, and The Dogs of War is based on a Frederick Forsyth novel, which was published in, I believe, 1974. So the movie seems sort of like a Wild Geese alike, but it was based on a novel that might have inspired the novel that inspired or was adapted into the Wild Geese.
Alan. Well, not even a hearty handshake. Sean, my boy, how are you? Nothing? Clown.
Roger Moore is playing the only character Roger Moore can play, which is Roger Moore as James Bond. Sometimes this is very literal in movies like Cannonball Run, where he plays a man who is named who believes himself to be Roger Moore, but is actually James Bond. He does this I believe he does this in Cars 2. I could be misremembering it, but I'm pretty sure he makes an appearance in Cars 2 as James Bond, but as a car and also not named James Bond.
Regrets in being able to make movies?
He's a one-trick pony, and in this one, he's a freelance James Bond who will do anything as long as it's not running drugs.
Yeah.
As long as it's not running drugs, yeah.
He'll commit war crimes. He'll destabilize countries.
If it's running drugs, he'll murder you because you made him do it.
Yeah, he'll brutally murder you by making you eat a bag of heroin laced with strychnine in your house, which is a disco made by people who who almost certainly voted for Margaret Thatcher, and so had no idea what a disco looked like.
What we in the business call a mixed fruit pudding.
Moore's presence in this film is weirdly destabilizing because because he's both exactly the perfect person to be this movie, because he was the face of movies for aging British dads, but also he's Roger Moore. So you've got this guy going around not really acting, just essentially being James Bond, but also not really doing anything either. He's just kind of present in some of the scenes.
There's so many scenes of him vague reaction shot, not even just like resting Moore face, like this.
Yeah,
not really doing anything. Just
resting Moore face.
He does do the James Bond judo chop fight move.
Yep,
at one point early on.
That must be some of that authenticity that the advisors brought to it.
Yeah, it's realism.
There are, he does basically three things in this movie. He turns up and his character is established by murdering a mafia boss. 2, he hires the South African guy who learns to not be racist. And 3, he flies the plane when they're escaping the country. And these are the only things of note Moore does in the whole fucking movie.
He leads the attack on the airport. Most of the attack on the airport is done by people who are not him. He kind of hangs outside the control tower with a cigar and shoots some guys with a silenced pistol. But ostensibly, he's leading an attack.
To kill the one Russian guy? I don't just
Cuban. He's supposed to be Cuban.
He's Cuban. They do say he's Cuban at one point.
Yes.
It's like one line about him being Cuban, because I remember watching it and just being like, what the fuck is a Cuban doing here? And they're just not going to explain that one. Okay, cool.
No, advisors.
Yeah, they do.
The Cubans are somewhere doing something.
You got to make sure these guys are left-wing mercenary. These are a left-wing militia, not any other kind of militia. These guys, they're like the good president believes in free markets and capitalism, unlike these guys who are the awful
damn commies.
Who are
shit
the
is red dawn on our long list.
Ball's in your court on that one, Shrug.
No, so what I was going to say about Roger Moore's character, not even Roger Moore's actor, but Roger Moore's character, is like, it's kind of hilarious how the other, like the two other guys that sort of at the beginning before the South African shows up, they have their roles. Like, one's the absolute commander, the other's the planner, and then they're like, we need Roger Moore.
And Roger Moore, yeah.
And then it's great because, like, at one point they just slide in a line about, like, oh, and he can pilot anything. And, like, that's it. That's all they say about it. They don't really ever come back to it. And then at the end, it's like, oh, yeah, of course. Okay, here he is.
It really feels like this is a thing James Bond is doing in his spare time.
Yeah, this is James Bond's spring break.
Because you know what he does? He hangs out in a casino and has a
nine mistresses.
Has 9 mistresses.
In London.
One of whom is killed for helping him. In a scene that when I saw it, her acting inflection was almost identical to damn, why can't I remember her name? But the main female character in Dark Place.
I'll make it up to you, I swear.
You run along, love. It was a pleasure having served. If I still have my teeth.
Thanks.
Like the way she delivers her lines.
Yeah.
Sounds like some Dark Place shit. To the extent that there was part of me that wondered. So was there just something in the air in Britain in the 70s, or did they specifically copy this performance to the nines?
Mr. Finn's penis is so good that I will die for him. But and you have to remember, those mafia guys also definitely tortured the 8 other girls.
Yeah. They drove around London torturing every woman that Roger Moore slept with to find out where Roger Moore was. This did have, I will say when they did find out where Roger Moore is, it had one of my favorite absolute moments of this movie when they turn to Rafer and say, "What do you have with you, Rafer?" And he just out of his jacket just pulls out a handgun and a grenade. And it's like some fucking cartoon comedy shit. He's like, "Yeah, I got this and I got a grenade. Let's go."
He very pointedly holds them up and says, "It balances me out."
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just like, "What the fuck? You just carrying a grenade around with you?" Okay.
I mean, I started keeping a nade count in this movie. It was 6. It was six of varying degrees of what a grenade can do. Explosions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they never quite settled in on the actual like power of a grenade explosion. It's like sometimes it's kind of just a little minor thing, and other times it looks like someone dropped a bomb. Like it's weird.
So I posted in chat, and I'll make sure to put this on the Twitter. A very important thing happened with the movie Wild Geese for a young video game developer by the name of Hideo Kojima, which is he watched this movie.
No fucking way.
And from that, just you're like, oh, that's where you took that from. That's where you took that from. That's where you took that from. Including Tigers brilliantly pulled up a map of a level from Metal Gear 2 for the what is that, the MSX2?
The MSX, yeah.
We're formerly a video game podcast, okay? That has the exact layout of the camp.
Of the camp, yeah.
Which you have to infiltrate and
do a war crime on.
I'd call it a crime against humanity in general.
I thought a lot about after they do that crime and then they release those prisoners are just going to walk into that barracks and die.
Yeah. Okay, so we should probably talk about that. So they to rescue President Lambani, they have to go into this camp and rescue him. And there's 200 people who are in the camp. There's an estimated 200 soldiers in the camp. And when they're in the planning stages, someone says like, okay, so how are you going to, how are 50 of you going to deal with 200 of them? And they very calmly just say, oh, we're just going to walk into the barracks while they're asleep and release cyanide gas and just kill them. And when they first say it, I was like, wait, you're kidding, right? And they are not kidding.
Not
kidding. Exactly what they do.
You get to watch Richard Harris put on a gas mask and walk through a barracks with some little device with cyanide on the side, walking by mosquito netted beds, calmly holding it out to people that are starting to wake up until they slump back in death. It's actually kind of spooky.
Yeah,
very creepy.
It was effective for me in that it was, and I don't think the movie necessarily intended it this way, but it was very much like, oh, this just went really like, I'm uncomfortable now. Like in ways that I hadn't been necessarily uncomfortable before. I was very much like viscerally uncomfortable, which was, I don't think on purpose, but that's okay because it was interesting.
It's the one moment you go, oh yeah, these guys are all trained killers.
Yeah, these guys are horrible monsters. Yeah.
They all love it.
They all love murder when they're winning. Which, a better movie could have done something with as a theme that this movie does not do.
Yeah, it kind of does though. Like there's like I think a lot about Another video game inspiration. We'll get back to Kojima in a bit. Another video game inspiration of Captain Price, Posh,
Oh,
who
fuck, yeah.
who is an actual mercenary they found in Africa, and then he got his buddy to help do consulting. But that guy's an actual for hire murderer, and you have the scene of his recruitment, and he goes, "I love it. This is the thing I do." And you go, "Yeah, that is the thing you do."
Yeah.
But he also gets the button on the mission where he asks Faulkner, "What was it all for?" And he goes, "I don't know." As the 11 survivors, damaged and bruised and shocked, right into the sunset, and I guess somehow Roger Moore is going to single-handedly fly a rusty piece of shit with a gunshot wound because I don't know, movies.
He's
Back
James
to
Bond.
Rhodesia.
Yeah.
He's James Bond. Are you saying you don't think James Bond can do that?
I guess. I mean, he just gotta lean against the wall and let his health recover.
I really like how they have like a ricochet sound, and oh no, he's got a bullet somewhere in the vicinity of his leg, and they just keep cutting to his bloody sock like this could mean something, be tense, but it isn't really anywhere in the performance.
Yeah. No,
So it's impossible to feel tension.
you get resting Moore face as he tries to pilot the plane that suddenly has only one engine and then suddenly has no engine. It's fine.
I started screaming at my television when I realized, oh, that plane really only has one engine. Okay, really flying with only one engine there. I don't know enough about planes, but that is a rickety piece of shit, and that plane really is flying with one engine.
Yeah. I mean, they had a plane did fly with one engine. I don't think Roger Moore was ever on that plane.
Speaking of not great, I feel like we should mention this because it's somewhere in the myth of this film that so supposedly when they were doing all the runway scenes, a guy was running towards the plane and Richard Harris tackled him to save his life. Some people in the scene would say that's the most courageous thing I'd ever seen. But also a further IMDb trivia note was another guy died doing the runway scene, not mentioned in the credits or anything.
No,
and it's not fun. It's not fun. I can't confirm it. We didn't get the director's commentary in time. Apologies, dear listener. But I'm gonna be thinking about this film that might have had an actual murder caused by it. I mean, probably. It's also in apartheid South Africa, so none of it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think this movie is where Kojima learned about gay people?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, quite likely.
I did want to take a special note about the gay.
The gay.
The gay.
Note singular.
Representation. Finally, some representation.
There you go.
Imperfect representation is still representation.
It's true.
So we should appreciate this.
Witty.
Witty.
We should appreciate the fact that there is a gay man in this movie who is somehow gay married in the 70s.
Yeah,
unhappily wants to divorce his husband.
No. He's saying he's gonna get someone else divorced. That was the joke.
That what the joke was?
That was the joke. He was getting someone else a divorce.
He's getting someone else a divorce. This dude turns up. Every single line, which isn't, I need to give of President Limbani his pills, and somebody needs to carry President Limbani, is about butts.
Yeah.
Lots of proctologist jokes.
A lot of proctologist jokes. A lot of look at their cheeks. A lot of look at those beautiful boys. A lot of just butt. Just talking about butts nonstop.
Who doesn't love butts?
But I have to compare that to, like, if this film was made 10 years later or 20 years later, there would be so many gay panic scenes. And like for me, I was like, oh, there's no gay panic anywhere in this film.
He's just one of the lads.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. It makes it surprisingly complicated.
Yeah,
because there's
people. Yeah, they don't give him weird looks. They don't give him anything. He just says gay. It just
There's even the scene when all the guys are going into town for like their last break, and they're like telling him to come along. We'll get you a dude, and he's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll stay here for when you guys get back." They don't like. Yeah, he's just one of the lads who just everyone can't stop talking about that he's gay.
Theory. Whitty and Sandy were going to bone down because right after that, it goes to that wide shot of Whitty in the background and Sandy quietly eating food. And then it cuts away, but like, oh, well,
all right.
Sandy didn't like those fucking rose bushes anymore, you know.
That's what they call a game theory.
Thread.
Thank you for trying to save me from cis white straight male-ing all over this cast.
Speaking of game theories, I do want to talk a little bit more about this movie's impact on a developing young Kojima.
Yes, go ahead.
Besides the layout of a complex in Metal Gear 2, there is also, I believe, Rudy posted this. Rudy posted an illustration of Roger Moore in a red beret, like Big Boss wears.
Yeah, Roger Moore's Big Boss. Big
Roger
Boss
Moore's
is Roger
Boss.
Moore. Let's put it that way.
And Kojima threw us off the trail by making Big Boss Sean Connery instead of Roger Moore.
Yeah, but it's clearly Roger Moore.
It's clearly Roger Moore and Wild Geese. 100%.
Like the stogie, everything. It's just it's there. It's fine.
I mean, he's a former renowned special agent who is part of a mercenary company. And yes, it's not explicit that he's a former special agent, but it's James Bond, and it's very obviously James Bond. And
I remember when he was the same guy.
Yeah, when he was the same guy.
Different
podcast joke.
Yeah, well, he is. That's what this movie feels like. Yeah. He feels like
clearly.
Yeah, you could just say James Bond retired after The Spy Who Loved Me, and this is what happened. What he did after.
Yeah, he was hanging out doing courier jobs for the mafia in London because whatever, you got to pay the bills, and then drugs happened, and he wasn't fond of that, and then he ended up, doing some war crimes.
But again, I just do want to get a couple things about Kojima out. Was before we watched this, we
all want Kojima to come out.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
we talked about we talked about how this movie was obviously influenced on Metal Gear Solid 5, which it really, really is.
Super duper.
Yeah, the way they infiltrate a camp, the way they take out the guards, the way it's shot, the way they hug walls, for God's sakes. Everything about the way they do stuff in this movie is so fucking close to Metal Gear in that it is not really realistic special ops, but it is very visually striking communicative special ops. There were scenes from Metal Gear games in this movie. Besides just Metal Gear 2, they also do the high atmosphere jump, like at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Beautiful parachuting footage.
Yeah,
really seeing 50 men fall out of an aircraft was beautiful.
Also, I love the fall of the aircraft, and then while they're in midair, they like form little cliques together.
Yeah,
like you can see like one of them even leaves a clique and goes over to talk to the other clique, and I'm like, wow, guys, you got a while here.
And then and then it's got all this fun chitty chitty bang bang ass music playing in the background.
Fucking soundtrack.
These old men having such a great time jumping out of a plane to commit some crimes against humanity.
The last like half hour when shit starts going really wrong, and it kind of seems like the movie's trying to get towards, okay, maybe this wasn't a great thing, a little bit. Not really though, because we want to make the dads feel okay. But meanwhile, like it's getting like nihilistic and depressing, and the music is still the fucking jaunty dun 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 dun. Like, did you even watch the movie you were making the soundtrack for?
Wallace and Gromit are going to the moon, baby.
Here comes
Wallace's
chitty
friends
bang.
Just got macheted. Let's go to the moon.
Speaking of machetes, there was a really fucked up thing I noticed about this movie.
Well, I can lead you into that because much like a Metal Gear Solid game, once they get spotted, there's just an infinite stream of men running in a straight line at them.
Endless
swarms.
Once that radar shows red, you're done. Like they're just gonna keep throwing guys at you until you're done.
The thing I wanted to bring up about the knives was this movie treated all of the black actors as having the majority of them. Their primary means of killing seems to be knives when you can actually see them on screen, including our sympathetic black South African ally that they have on their team also uses a knife. And they're constantly menaced by these guys called the Simbas. That's lion, I believe, is what that word. I think that's lion, if I remember correctly.
The special forces.
Yeah, the special forces.
From the dictator that they're trying to depose.
Because they'll show the president to the tribe leaders and magic will happen.
Which, to be fair, doesn't work.
Yeah.
just straight up does not work.
I will say that the fact that the resolution of this movie was, we'll have a rebellion with, okay, actually we can't. Let's just see if we can get him out without him dying.
Yeah, that guy has all the guns.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, like our village, pretty small.
We're
Not
all
a lot of guns.
Yeah.
They have planes. You said that, yeah, they got planes.
Yeah, you notice how you got strafed by a plane while you were on your way here? You know what we don't have? Planes. Yeah.
Well, they have one plane.
They have one plane, exactly one plane.
I was
You're right.
informed by the helpful Irish Catholic priest who is known to the mercenaries somehow.
Yeah, no, James Bond knows him. That's the best thing. It's like, James Bond's like, oh, hey, what's up, dude?
Well, they've been there before.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Bond had been there before. Yeah, but the other, the Richards had previously done stuff in operations in this country that were in some way unsuccessful.
This is a follow-up to a previous attempt to extract the president.
Yeah, which they establish in one brief flashback scene that is a flashback, which there are no other flashback scenes in the entire movie.
But also, there's an Irish Catholic priest just chilling in this village.
That's not unbelievable.
That's not unbelievable. No. It's more just like...
Just another white guy trying to fix Africa.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, this guy is Irish.
I'm against you, and God's against you.
There was a little part of me that was like, is this like a bad Irish stereotype from British people?
A little bit. It a little bit was.
I'm not, I'm an American, but something felt weird about the priest to me. Like he seemed very caricatured. But this is just speculation from a very American girl. I'm so American Girl, you can buy a pinball table for me for $100. Google American Girl pinball table to get the second part of that joke.
I love that every episode we have to have at least one Tigress joke that ends with Tigress telling people to Google something.
My jokes are great if you know what I'm talking about.
You have the source material. They're awesome, damn it.
Yeah. I'm always happy to hear about the American Girl pinball table.
It brings joy to us all.
It's fifth scale, but it works.
Look, we got to have a couple Vin owned an episode, don't we? And I got to have one of them.
It's weird that the Dogs of War make such a big deal about the Uzi being the cool new weapon when this movie is 2 years earlier and all the officers just have Uzis. Shrug, can you speak to any of that as a? Let's go to the firearm range.
Okay. I assume that for the most part, they're carrying FALs or L1A1s, I think, which is a clone of the FAL. Most of their full-size rifles they're carrying, and the majority of the cast are those. The FAL was the closest thing to a standard NATO rifle that existed during the Cold War. I'm not going to explain why, but I could tell you. It was adopted by many, many countries before the 5.56 MO standard happened. And I believe they were very common in South Africa, so that'd be why they have those. I assume that the lead actors were given Uzis because they're officers and it'd be a lot more comfortable to parachute with, and also to use in in buildings because you don't have a great big long motherfucker of a barrel. Submachine guns are handy for that. I would say that the armaments, at least, come across as fairly authentic. Gold star! Ding, ding, ding!
That's not quite true, Shrug, according to the IMDb Goofs page.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
One click when they run out of ammunition, as opposed to making a click every time.
Yeah, that's true. The bolt would close, and then there's no blam blam, and of course
Star.
they're running around shooting them from the hip all of the time, and like all of the weapon. I don't know what the fuck the advisors are doing. All of the weapons handling is ridiculous, but whatever. It was made in 1978.
Are we down to Bronze Star now? I mean, jeez.
I'm just glad we finally have stars in this show.
Yeah. We've only had 5 stars before.
Yeah.
When they made it in Africa, and so they used an African armor, and what do you know? It's set in Africa, so the weapons are things you would find in Africa. In conclusion, they probably had Uzis because they're officers.
Let's talk about alcoholism, because
wow.
The two main actors, famously known for being drunken fighters, were banned from taking any alcohol. So everyone just visibly drenched in alcohol withdrawal sweats. So much so that they, like, where did this detail come from? Why does it exist? It has to be real, because why wouldn't it be? That Richard Burton had 2,000 cans of Tab brought in to drink.
Wait, like the cola?
Yes.
He drank Tab instead of booze, and there wasn't any in South Africa.
So you got to import your own.
Like, that has to be a wink and nod to the audience when he's like, I don't drink on the job. Wink, you know me, Richard Burton, famous drunk.
Well, he says in the opening when he meets with the client.
When he makes the big baby drink? He makes the big baby drink?
He says, I want whiskey, basically a lot of it neat. And he gets it and immediately chugs the entire,
rounds it like a shot.
I saw that, and I was like, what the fuck?
And then he says, another. And then he tells the client, I don't drink when I'm on the job.
Matheson guy was like, feel free with my whiskey. And he's like, I will. Like, that's just how you're like, I will, yeah. I'm gonna.
Yeah, the film switches between being quippy and not quippy in
weird places.
And that this film needed about 5 more rewrites, obviously. It's like, oh, Roger Moore's on screen, we should make him quippy. And then Roger Moore will just sit in the background because we can't think of any quips for him to say.
There are things where Roger Moore has a slightly sadder resting Moore face when he's concerned about things going bad, which is the same as a happy resting Moore face, but like just his eyes droop a little more.
Concerned more.
It's like a cat. If you pay attention to the expressions, they do have them, but they're very subtle and not like a dog's expressions. So this isn't like not like Daniel Craig.
Not everyone realizes that Roger Moore doesn't have eyebrows, but if you look.
It occurs to me Craig isn't the dog. It would definitely be it would definitely be Pierce Brosnan. Yeah,
Pierce Brosnan's the dog of.
Pierce Brosnan is a fucking human golden retriever. GoldenEye retriever.
Roger Ebert thought this film, in his scathing review of this film, he said all the actors had clear contempt for the material. I don't. Did you all agree with that? Did you all?
No, not at all.
I thought they were all excited to do one of these.
They look like maybe they regretted being dry and in South Africa and not realizing that Diet Cola dehydrates you more, so it was probably making everything worse.
But I honestly though, I felt like that sort of added to the weird miserable nihilism thing going on near the end of the movie. Is because everyone fucking hates it here.
It's like accidental method acting.
Yeah. That's honestly like everything. Almost everything I liked about this movie kind of felt like it was an accident, and it's okay.
Bougie, so Chris, you got a review system over there?
Whew. Do I?
I thought the bouncing bomb was cool. Like, how did they do that?
How many takes did they do? That's the one I will. I'll maybe record a tiny little bonus episode just once I watch the commentary to see if they.
Wow, a bridge is important again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yet again, a bridge is important in a war movie. I never would have thought.
Every war movie eventually is about a bridge. Which is why Bridget Remagen is so good, because it's a movie that understands the appeal of a war movie is how much it's about a bridge.
Yeah,
Turns
it's in
out
the title.
Rivers
So
can
wait,
be a
so-
problem.
So wait, Tigress, when the bridge came on screen, did you lean over and go, "That's the bridge"?
Yes, I actually did to myself as I watched alone. I'm not even joking. I was like, "Fuck yes, bridge."
I like in my head, I picture Tigress sitting on a couch, leaning over to talk to Tigress and going, "There's the bridge."
It's really not far off from what
I was primed for it by Tigress mentioning the bridge in chat.
Yeah.
So when the bridge came up, I picked up my cat Touch and held her in front of the screen and went, check it out. It's a bridge.
There it is.
And she seemed unimpressed.
I got it. I got a racist. I'm gonna take it from Bougie this time.
All right, take it, please.
What about 1 to 5 stalled trucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll do that. I was going to go more complicated ethically than that, so we'll go without yours instead.
Let's
Okay,
go.
yeah.
Let's go. Let's go the simple ethics, since this
Yeah.
movie did not have them.
Yeah,
Yeah, much like an old British man. Let's go for the obvious thing. And,
yeah. Let's go for
and
the
not-
easy
and-
ethics. Don't think about it too
and-
much.
Yeah, not like me, where I was stumbling into a high tension article. I don't have any high standards. I'm wrong. Okay, it's okay. I can be wrong. You disagree with the points I've made in this podcast? Cool, I do too. Thanks. Don't bother me.
Yeah, I'll disagree with me tomorrow. So, congratulations.
I have no idea what I said, so
I mean, honestly, I don't, Rudy. Sometimes you say, "Hey, remember when you said that?" And I say, "No, I don't."
All right, so Bougie, 1 to 5 stalled trucks. There's a scene. They get to this bridge. That's a dry riverbed. They could just walk across. I don't know when
that
Yeah,
was
that's
weird.
the weirdest part of the bridge scene is they could just walk across.
Would have given them cover. I don't know why they didn't do it.
because once again, it's the
You gotta
fighting
have
the
a bridge
page.
You gotta have a bridge scene. Yeah,
It's because you're fighting the page and the setting. You're fighting the page and the camera. They get to the bridge. They're trying to get out of the hellhole they're in, and right on cue, one of their trucks stalls, and then a plane shows up and totally owns that truck. And you think the guys in the truck died, but apparently they didn't. Apparently, the guys that were showing in the truck were different guys. Who knows?
I
they
think
got
there were
out of
just
the
two
truck.
Game, movie, goofy sins. Anyways, Chris, 1 to 5 stalled trucks.
1 to 5 stalled trucks. I'm gonna give this movie. It's hard. It's hard for me here because, like,
Yeah, how racist do you want to see, Chris? Huh? How racist do you?
I mean, yeah. Well, no, like I would say, like, yeah, the film is racist, and so for the surface, like, if I'm actually having to rate this movie for someone just to tell them should they watch this movie, I'm gonna give them 2 stalled trucks, because there is some, like, there's the Metal Gear angle, there's some things like that, but I would almost say there's enough weird crap in this movie to talk about with people that, like, there's a part of me that wants to rate it higher than that, but not actually give the movie that rating. Give the discussion you could have about the movie that rating, not necessarily the movie. Like, I kind of enjoyed the movie, but mostly in spite of the movie, if that makes sense. Like, I enjoyed how much I had to keep going, like, wow, this is really racist. And this is horrible, and these are horrible people, and how much it kept reminding me of that. And so, yeah, it was weird because I do not think it was a great movie at all, but I do think there's so much to talk about in it, and so much, if you're a Metal Gear fan, to see direct inspirations from. So yeah, and also like it's just fun. Roger Moore's just funny this entire movie just because it's just Roger Moore. It's just weird. So yeah, I'll go with 2 out of 5 stalled trucks on a bridge that are gonna get their shit rocked by a plane. Tigress, what would you give this movie?
Yeah, I'm just gonna be unambiguous, and I'm gonna factor in the racism, which was copious, the misogyny, which just kept knocking me down. Every woman in this movie is either like a nagging wife, a mistress, or a fridged mistress. And I don't want to just be too, 101 about this, but it was amazing how much this movie was just like, we're not going to think about women. They are just literally these objects that vaguely interact in a minor way with the men. The gay stuff, again, it's weird because there wasn't like gay panic, but also there's a lot of weird shit with that. And it was very distracting for me. We didn't even mention the blackface for one thing. This movie has a very extensive scene of blackface in it. The bits where they're just fighting stuff are well done, but it's really, and it's interesting historically to think about like how this movie almost certainly impacted Kojima. But if I was going to watch a movie about African mercenaries, I know it's not supposed to be a comparison, but it was impossible for me not to just keep thinking about how much I like Dogs of War watching this one, and it just cast a shadow on this film. I would love to talk about this movie more. I would love to write a paper on this movie. I would love to dive into every aspect of the production of this movie because I think it's a very interesting object. But I don't know. I did. It's also hard. I would also not like pull this off the shelf and say, okay, yeah, we're watching this one. And it as a movie itself didn't really say anything interesting. It didn't really do a lot that was interesting for me. So I'm giving it 2 stalled trucks. And Shrug, what do you think?
I found the Wild Geese extremely watchable despite all of the speed bumps. All of the lead actors are very charming, which counts for a lot. I like watching Richard Burton. Watching Richard Burton in Alcohol Withdrawal, and Richard Harris seeming more distant and fey than ever because he too is going through horrible alcohol withdrawal. But there's all the other stuff that everyone else mentioned that I gotta think about because my brain is broken or something. Things that I have to Google, things that remind me of just how little I know about the African continent in the 20th century. And I hate being reminded that I don't know things. And it happens all the time, every day. That's why I didn't very rarely get out of bed. I want to hide from the things that remind me that I don't know. I couldn't this time because I felt obligated to talk about it. Please feel bad for me, dear listener. It did give me an opportunity to give a brief off-the-cuff crash course in Rhodesia to Rudy, though. So, that's fun. I can feel like I know something. 2 stalled trucks out of 5. Rudy?
All right. First, gotta mention up post, this is a Christmas movie. You can use that one at parties. If you are a 50-year-old British man, or probably a 50-year-old straight white man who hates his shrill wife and has a distant relationship with your children, or you are a 9-year-old boy That's the audience of this film. And if you can watch it in those contexts, you're like, woo, yay, fun war movie. Fun movie about men doing things. It's a messy, complicated film. I've stumbled over my words a lot in this one. I'm also going to give it 2 stalled trucks. But if you're a video game person, and if you like the video games of a particular Hideo Kojima, you should watch it because there it is on the screen. You put yourself and you see, oh yes, Hideo Kojima as a child saw this movie somehow. The Flight of the Wild Geese, as it's called in Japanese, the name of the poem. And then you go, oh yeah, there it all is. Christmas movie, 2 trucks. But within every film, there is guys. Tigress, who is your guy?
Oh, jeez, I forgot this part.
Chris, who's your guy?
All right. Well, I previously mentioned one of my favorite moments of the movie of Rafer pulling out a gun and a grenade in his jacket in the middle of an apartment in London. So there was a part of me that was tempted to make Rafer, but Rafer's too main of a character to the movie. So my guy, I'm going to go with our favorite overly polite British child, Emil.
Damn it! That was who I figured out. After,
I know. Because Emil is amazing because he's way overly polite and just child capital A acting.
Have you ever seen a child in film who could be described as a moppet?
Yeah,
more than Emil.
He was the moppet. He was
Oh,
pure.
father.
Oh,
I
dearest
would
father.
so much love to go to Switzerland.
I was so looking forward to our skiing expedition together.
I now
father.
have to do 5 minutes on this because, yeah, he can be your guy, but I have to do 5 minutes because when I saw this movie for the first time, I was like, annoying child, and now I'm a dad, and it made me cry.
Oh yeah. Oh no, like that's the thing about Emil is like he's this terrible child actor, and then like the fucking last scene of the movie is just like, oh, cool. So Richard Burton's about to fuck this kid's life up forever. Because like the last scene of the movie, okay, Rafer dies, blah blah blah, and Richard Burton had told Rafer that he would, go take care of Emil. So the last scene of the movie is Richard Burton coming up to Emil, who previously, when we saw him at his British boarding school, was playing rugby, but now Emil's like standing on the sideline, kind of dejected because his dad abandoned him and didn't go on his ski trip with him. We didn't mention that at all prior to this, but there you go. Anyhow, so Richard Burton comes up and he's just like, so let's talk about your father. It's like, what? No, that's a lot to just throw on this kid.
What do you think Burton said? What did Burton say?
Yeah, like that. I did wonder that because,
I mercy killed your dad on a runway in Central Africa,
and he begged me to murk him on the.
So we all agree that when this kid grows up, he's going to become like another mercenary taught by Richard Burton, and is going to be some kind of special ops monster raised from when he was 9 years old to be the ultimate killing machine, right?
Oh yeah. That kid becomes an operator who operates operationally.
That kid has multiple levels of PTSD before his 10th birthday. Like
I so wish I could go on the capture and kill with you, Uncle Richard.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to make my first kill at age 16.
Yeah, that was the thing is like, yeah, I did feel some sadness for the kid, like, because clearly he has messed up relationships with both of his parents. That gets mentioned a couple times, but also then, yeah, the end of the movie is just like, oh, wow. So we just made another little monster. Awesome. Cool. Poor little guy.
Sins of the father. Am I right?
He also built a model kit.
Yeah, he does. He's a modeler. So, maybe the best outcome for Emil is he just gets into Gunpla. I mean, that's not going to work for him, though.
Yeah. I think the only way this kid's getting into Gunpla is by being a child soldier like a Gundam character. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so
All
More
right. Well,
gunplay, less gunplot. Yeah.
I've got my backup guy. Tiger's
All
gonna
right.
need a little more time.
I do need a little more time.
All right. So
yeah, my
Rudy.
backup guy. My backup guy is Randy.
Randy.
Randy?
Yes. We meet Roger Moore, finding out that his employer had
Randy.
pulled drugs, and Randy's a big man. He's working for this shit heel mobster son.
Yeah, Sonny Martinelli.
Randy is clearly a large man, a big old burly man, but also like clearly like not that much of a tough guy. Clearly like a big softy, but he has the appearance of being a big tough guy. So probably didn't have a lot of schooling, so he just does it because he puts on air, but the second Moore pushes back, he like crumbles.
Yeah. Randy's not putting up a fight. Like,
yeah, and he's like clearly, and he's like, and just like he's like, look, this kid's a fucking moron. Like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. This kid's a goddamn idiot, and I don't want to die on his behalf.
That is. I had forgotten that. Yeah, Randy just like rolls on Sonny Martinelli right away. He's just like, nah, this kid sucks. Like,
I got other like I got a lot of years left in me.
Yeah, like come on, man.
Yeah, like just
I didn't want this job, but like, just who knows
cool.
who knows how long how Randy had even had this job.
Maybe I can have a better job. Maybe I can have a better job, like being a mercenary.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just walk out of this, please. Just like
doesn't have to be this way, bro.
Yeah, I will go to the bus station and buy a bus ticket and disappear because the mob's gonna come after my ass. But like this ain't worth it. This ain't
Yeah, this guy ain't worth it. It's fine.
All right, Shrug, what about you?
My guy is a sort of cloud of guy. It's a collective guy. My guy is any one of the number of guys that died of acute ketchup packet under the rim of the beret. There's an effect that this movie really likes to do, especially in the end, where you jump cut to a guy that suddenly gets like a spurt of fake blood that comes just underneath the rim of their beret. Oh no, headshot. And they really lean on it, and it never looks convincing, and it's always really silly. And those who die this way are my guys. I hope to go out myself someday equally ridiculously.
Catch up to the dome.
Catch up to the dome, specifically under the beret.
Never
store Heinz underneath your beret is the lesson.
I got my guy who's a pure incarnation of a guy, which is the guy whose plane they stole.
Aw, poor guy.
Poor schmuck.
There's a guy. So they have a plane that they need to fly to Rhodesia, and but the thing is, every plane is somebody's plane. There's a guy whose plane this is. He's just spending a normal day refueling his plane that what he uses it for is unclear. What this plane's function is in the world, not clear. It's by an abandoned mine. Not a not abandoned mine. It's not at the regular airport. Exactly what this plane is and its function. A priest flew in it.
Yeah.
This raises further questions, so it's probably not used like predominantly a smuggling plane. This plane, but there's a guy, and he's refueling the plane, and Roger Moore turns up and says, we're going to need your plane, and unless you want to fly it, you got to leave. And then before the guy could even answer, he Roger Moore chops him in the neck, and then the guy just crumples to the ground, and we never see him again.
That's called efficient writing, okay? We don't need to develop this character. We just need Roger Moore to knock him out and move on.
That's a guy. He does a really good job That's 10 seconds he's on screen.
Very unhappy to be interrupted refueling his plane.
Guys all around. And with that, our last thing we do on this podcast is selection of a next film. So,
Ooh.
Tigress,
Yeah, you
is
knew.
your dice
You knew
loaded?
I
knew it.
You knew I had it.
but I'll let you warm up the dice. So the way we select our films is each of us has 5 films loaded up, and Tigress is going to roll a d20, and we will find out which one of these films is the next film. We can only do one more film vaguely related to James Bond.
That I think that's a fair rule. Like, much like we have the rule where we can't do movies from one person's list over and over again, we cannot do movies related to James Bond over and over again.
I don't think there's any on our list right now, but we'll find out.
You don't know that. You don't know.
Yeah.
They'll sneak up on you.
Yeah.
I'll put a fucking James Bond movie on the list. Anyway, the die is cast.
What number?
16. Fire on the Plains.
Fire on the Plains. Wow. All right.
Fire on the Plains.
I was just talking about this film in private with y'all. So this film was done by our by the other podcast that we were birthed from, like broken Zeus head, the Titan head. I don't know.
It's Zeus's
geography.
head because Athena is born out of Zeus's head.
Hephaestus struck its head with his hammer, and out sprang us. Covered with
Formed
earth
and glistening. Alcohol deprived and sweaty.
And then I became the female patron, apparently, of... I'm not even going there. I'm not going to make Athens jokes. We're just...
So this is the end of World War II. One of those godforsaken islands that the Japanese were told to hold, the Americans were told to take. And it is mostly going to be Japanese men wandering around wishing they would die.
I love it when any men of any nationality wander around wishing they could die.
That's prime movie material right there.
Yeah, it's not really a fun one. And if we want to double up, there is a This Decade remake starring famous Japanese actors I see on television all the time. That's probably not any good, but we can always double up if we can. We'll find out about that next time. But this one's not the most fun. Wild Geese kind of fun. This one, all downers, but I think about it all the time.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like with everything going on, I kind of want a war movie that's kind of a downer right now.
So next time, the 1960s version of Fire on the Plains. It's all on YouTube. When I watched it 2 years ago. Is it still all on YouTube? You can find out for yourself, dear listener.
Sign up for the Criterion channel.
Leave us a review on iTunes if you can, because if every one of you listening just opened your American iTunes account, Rose Timely Review, it would do quite a bit for other people finding the show because we don't advertise yet. And if you need to tell anyone, or should we finally announce it? I don't think we've never said it on the cast.
The purchase.
I mean, I think if there's any movie that deserves this announcement at the end of it,
you know what? You're right.
Yeah. It feels like it. Come on, Rudy.
With that said, if you ever need to tell someone, oh, I know about a war movie podcast by 4 leftists. One of them's a straight white asshole. He just says the worst things everyone has ever announced.
Also, Rudy's on the podcast.
Hey,
yeah, joke on me.
Yeah, but the web address you can tell them is anal.shoes. Which is a long-running joke I don't have time to explain today, but anyone will remember if you tell them to check out a war movie podcast at anal.shoes.
Maybe one of the finest purchases Rudy has made in quite some time.
I'm a father.
You have a kid. Someday your kid might find out about this, and it's going to be very complicated.
Look, your dad was looking for a Japanese pop album, and for some reason, the Google first result was anal.shoes, and it's just stuck in his brain until years later he bought it himself because whatever was on there before didn't exist anymore. There, I explained it.
I didn't know there was an origin for that. I thought that was just us figuring out what all the funniest things you could have anal dot was.
Nope.
Nope.
There's
I
an
was
origin.
looking for a Dreams Come True album, and for some reason, anyways, shoot the hinges.
Shoot them. Shoot the
Shoot
hinges.
those hinges.
Pew, pew, pew,
Shoot.
pew.
Pew. Pew.
Pew 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 pew.
Totally scarring war moves.